Morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar dedicated to the 2025 report on quality and use of data. So please be informed that this webinar is being recorded. By default, your cameras and microphones are disabled, but after the presentation, you will be able to raise any questions you have using the Q&A box. Thank you for joining. Colleagues, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Cecily, and good morning to everyone. Thanks for the very good turnout of people joining us today. As you mentioned, we have organized this webinar to present our report of 2025, which is the sixth edition of the report of quality and use of data, with the key objective to provide you some highlights of it. Obviously, have a discussion with you in terms of the some of the findings and conclusions that we have of that report, having also input and feedback from you if needed on whether and how this is perceived in the market, whether the message that ESMA would like to give as part of the implementation of the data strategy that we have an increased use of the data and we really rely on data for everyday decisions in the European financial markets is something that it's clearly understood, and hopefully this report provides a very good way for you to see it. I will not give you further introductory remarks and give the floor directly to Martin, who is the colleague who has coordinated this work and to present you our 2025 report on quality and use of data. Martin?
Yes, thank you very much for the introduction and also warm welcome from my side. I will guide you through the presentation today. As Nikolai already mentioned, this is the sixth report that we produce on data quality and use. So there will be some elements that you already have seen, but also there will be some new elements. I hope you will have an interesting presentation today, and I will start basically with the first slide on this report. So this slide basically gives you an idea on the staggering scale of information that ESMA receives to various reporting regimes. This is basically a fact sheet that shows you a bit of what is going on in terms of quantitative information there, but also be aware that this is not all information that we receive. We are basically just picked one of the key data sets that we are presenting here today. So I will start with the first data set that is basically one of the most important and also quite old data set, but also in terms of quantitative information, one of the data sets with most of the records, which is basically EMIR. EMIR data set is basically the information about derivatives concluded in the EEA. Here, basically, we saw in 2025 13.8 billion life cycle events. On average, basically, we saw that there are 35.6 million average open positions. And the reporting entities that we see in these data sets are 184 reporting counterparties. The second data set, it's quite similar to EMIR, even though, of course, has the different information, is the SFTR data set that is basically information of security financing transactions concluded in the European Economic Area. Here, when we compare this to EMIR, we see that the number of life cycle events is quite low compared just to EMIR. It's 783 million life cycle events in 2025 alone. This basically translates to 3.2 million average open SFTs. We see 38,000 reporting counterparties. So as you can see, compared to the derivatives market, this market is relatively small in terms of reporting counterparties. The next important data set that we basically have here at ESMA is the MiFIR transaction data set with MiFIR transaction reporting. So there basically we see that this is also quite a heavy weight in our data systems with 9.2 billion transactions reported. We see on average 26 million transactions are reported daily, and these are reported by 6.8 thousand executing firms. The next data set that we are looking into regularly is the MiFIR transparency data set. Here we see that there are 2.5 billion transactions reported and 450 million transactions reported by APAs. Next, we are looking into the bottom of the slide into the securitization reporting, which is basically the reporting of securities that have been issued in the economic area. So we see around 700 outstanding securitizations that are reported there, 885 billion your aggregated current principal balance when we basically calculated the sum of all of those, and 449 STS public deals are reported there. The next important reporting frameworks that I want to mention today are the funds reporting, basically. So here we have the MMF reporting, but also the AFMD reporting. So here in the MMF reporting, we see around 460 MMFs and 132 managers. For AFMDs, we see around 37,000 AFs being reported. Also important, basically, in our day-to-day monitoring is the short selling activity. And here, basically, we saw in 2025 around 1.3 thousand ISINs reported daily with their net short position value. And as a final data set, and actually this is an interesting data set because it's actually public to everyone, the SF reporting in 2025, basically, we extracted 3,000 files and processed them and basically incorporate them in our regular data work. With that, I will finish the overview of the main data sets. As I mentioned before, these are not all data sets that we receive, so there's much, much more. And some of the data sets are also public, as you could see with SF, but also, for example, we collect data to registers, and these are also basically public and basically available to everyone who's interested in seeing the information behind it. With that, basically, I will go a little bit over the structure of the report. For those who are regular readers of our publications, they will probably recognize that the report structures has changed a little bit. So also some of the things that I mentioned here today will be a part of the webinar, so I will elaborate on them a bit later with more detail, but we basically structured the report more that we incorporated the data use sections into each reporting framework. So we don't have a specific section now on data use, but of course data use is basically the key when collecting data. So each section basically features this, and also in the webinar later, we will talk about the use of the data in more detail. Also, maybe I want to highlight the fact that the report has been significantly growing basically this year with new reporting regimes in their own sections. So some of those were already a little bit incorporated, but now basically all these reporting frameworks have their own section with their own data quality and use information. Here I wanted to mention basically the reporting frameworks in green, so that are shown here. So I think it's in total 7 of those. So it's basically the MiFIR reporting on reference data. We also have now a section on prospectus reporting. Also, there's a central counterpart of supervisory reporting that is incorporated now. The CIL reporting is also now part of the report, and also for the crowdfunding information that is collected, there's a specific section. Also for the Doha incident reporting, we have a section now. And finally, we also have a section for the ESMA registers, where we basically made sure that the data is detailed enough and accurate enough this year. And also we are reporting basically on this information that is, I think, highly appreciated by the market. With that, basically, I go into more details on the use of the data sets. Today, I will not go basically over each data set because it will be a bit long to explain for each data set how it's used. I will basically give you the key themes that is also shown on these slides. So as you can see, basically, data plays a critical role in identification and monitoring of risks to the integrity and orderly functioning and stability of financial markets. You see many teams around monitoring of trends and risks, monitoring also of legal obligations, basically, and following up, of course, if these are not fulfilled, monitoring of exposures, infrastructure, and participants. So also, basically, the data is used for direct supervision, enforcement, sanction, and supervisory conversions. So with that, basically, the data directly supports ESAs, NCAs, ECB, ESAB in their decision-making in the areas of policy-making, supervision, and monitoring and financial market risk analysis. So one of the typical use cases also that basically policy-making is going now more in the direction of what where appropriate the support of data. So this is basically the bubble on data-driven policy development. Also, this is, let's say, a very important factor when basically new regulations are shaped, and we are also considering information intent and trying to really base the policies on actual evidence with data. So as I said before, basically, this report provides a broad overview of use cases implemented by data users and links also to public available reports if available. Of course, not everything is public that we do. So please be aware, basically, that there's much more going on with the data that you might see and that we are also able to report. today. With that, basically, I will go to the next slide on our key initiatives in 2025 in terms of data, what specifically happened there, and also potentially how this will shape basically the reporting in the future. So the first two initiatives that I want to highlight today is the simplification of financial transaction reporting and development of fund integrated reporting. So as you note, well, under some conditions, maybe there's a duplicated reporting depending on the reporting regime. So basically the goal of both initiatives is somehow to establish a report once principle, and also to ensure that the data elements that are reported there basically serve a purpose and also basically reflect the costs that are basically burdened on the industry when those are collected. So on the first work stream, simplification of financial transaction reporting, the goal is to basically simplify the reporting of frameworks that are already there. Probably you recall that I already mentioned EMIR and MIFA and SFTR reporting in one of the first slides. And the goal is really to make sure that the information there is going into one specific reporting framework. The details are still under discussion, obviously, but the goal is obviously to, try to basically have the report once principle there. Similar developments also are there observed for the development of the fund integrated reporting. We are trying to have their consolidated reporting with all the data elements that we would need with all the different funds that exist. And these are mainly AFMD, UCITS, MMFR. And there's basically also this work stream that was driving 2025, but also is relevant in 2026. One of the key things or that we also basically organized in 2025 was the ESMA Data Day. It was a gathering of all the people around the data policy and a regulatory event, also with the industry to, get feedback, but also to engage with them and to understand their needs, and also basically explain the next steps for mainly also the two aforementioned projects. So this was, I think, a big success, and there's also the potential that this ESMA Data Day will basically be done this year again. Also, of course, ESMA is looking, when looking at the key data initiatives, into increasing efficiency. So, and also, basically being able to better work with NCAs, even though let's say the cooperation is already very good. And one of the key things that I want to highlight now and incorporating with the NCAs is a SubTech network of experts, basically, where ESMA basically is having a big collaborative platform with all the NCAs and all the experts that are basically working in SubTech to basically, share knowledge, but also share codes to be able to, be more efficient. So that, for example, not each authority implements their own solution, but also there's this kind of exchange that basically enables authorities to be more efficient in doing fulfilling their legal mandates. The second thing, of course, is one of the key themes in nowadays times, and also, of course, ESMA is not an exception to this. We are also looking into the Gen AI, generative artificial intelligence, and we are basically looking into how to incorporate these methods into our day-to-day business. So we have been expanding our capabilities in 2025 using Gen AI for our day-to-day work. Also, we are looking to machine learning for basically credit rating methodologies, and also a proof of concept on the potential detection of market abuse. So also basically we are going in this direction, and we hope to even more streamline our processes and become more efficient on this end using these new technologies. Then I will also focus on the last element here on this slide. This is the automatization of analytics and data quality exchanges. We now have integrated automated notification dashboards that we basically share with other authorities, and also these are basically based on integrated workflows, and they will reduce manual updates. So we are trying really to automatize the process end to end, and also to streamline, let's say, our data work. Also to identify data anomalies, and I will also talk about those specifically later, and also basically streamline the market monitoring reporting and so on and so forth, the production of regulatory monitoring products that are used not only within ESMA but also outside of ESMA. With that, basically, I closed the slide on the key initiatives, and I will focus a bit more now on some of the key data sets and also their data quality developments. Also be aware that I'm picking out now some data sets I will present today, but of course, there's much more going on than what is basically presented today. There are more initiatives basically within the authorities. So also be aware, of course, that even there are more things, let's say, happening behind the curtain that are not mentioned in data quality reports. So data quality is, of course, essential pillar for our day-to-day work, because data quality is crucial to, be able to make use of the data in the most profound and proficient way. So the first data set that I want to pick out today is the EMEA data set. Just as a reminder, this is the derivatives data set that is quite huge, basically, in terms of records. So we basically structure our work for those data sets around data quality indicators. So these are indicators that basically allow us to measure or quantify several data quality dimensions that we look into in a regular manner. So now I go a bit more into the details on the trends of those. So I want to focus you on chart 1, basically, where we basically check to which extent basically the records are double reported. So just as a reminder for you, that you need to consider that in DEA some transactions need to be double reported. So here basically we check if we have two reports in the data set. And here we see basically a trend that these records are going down. So just to also make this clear, when the data quality indicators go down, it's a good development. So this is the sum of the chart. So there's a clear reduction in the difference between data quality in the data quality indicators between the number of trades positions and also the number of unpaired reports basically fell down. The second chart is going to, let's say, another data quality dimension that is looking into the new reports and also the position reports. And here also we would expect a double reporting. Here we see a clear trend down, a good trend that is has been developing now for a while and continues to go down. Of course, we always would expect this to go down further. Now we focus on the third chart. This chart, we are looking into the reporting of valuation and maturity dates, to which extent they are basically reported, and also whether they are recent or outdated or not even reported, even though they need to be reported. So here we see also some trends going down. We see that outdated valuation are now at a good level, and the blank abnormal maturity data has been going down also. Still, the missing valuation remains a bit elevated. So here, basically, you would also expect that these problems in the data will be solved in the coming year. With that, I close the reporting on the EMEA data, and I will focus now on the key developments with regards to SFTR data, Securities Security Financing Transactions. So here, I must say, overall, the picture doesn't look as good, and the developments are not as good as for EMEA. Of course, the reporting framework is relatively new compared to EMEA's, but technically, of course, it's not completely new because it's been around now for a while. And here we see that the data quality issues are basically, going down when we look at the charts at high level, but they still remain elevated. Looking at the chart 16, this is the number of outstanding SFTs at trade and position level for which a double reporting should be fulfilled, but isn't basically. It remains too high, and there's also a similar trend observed for the unpaired reports. So the number of outstanding trades, number of unpaired reports, it's going down, but still it remains elevated. The chart 17 focuses based on the matching collateral and the matching loan, and it is still very high. It trends down. We see a small trend, so it's going to the right direction, but it's very slow. And the number of records that are basically not fulfilling this is still quite high. With that, basically, I will focus on the key development slide on MiFIR and the MiFIR DQIs and their trends. So first, I want to focus on chart 10. We observe here an increase of rejection rates, and we believe this is due to the new reporting standards in 2025 for some approved publication arrangements. and which remains still elevated in the observation period. So here we hope that the reporting entities basically adjust their reporting to the new standards, and this goes down further because re-reporting of transactions is something that should be avoided for the sake of all the reporting entities. On the chart 11, we focus on the average time to publish once an API receives the data, and we expect this to be typically immediate. But for some APIs, we see that this is not always the case. That is also shown here, that there are some spikes basically in the chart. So we would hope that it stays in a low level. So now we focus on chart 13. This is the data consistency that is quite relevant for all our work. So the data needs to be consistent for all the reports that are consulting or resulting from a transaction. Here we see that the issues relate to inconsistent timestamps, the quantity, and the TVTIC, the trading venue transaction identification code. So here we hope that these inconsistencies will also disappear going forward. With that, I will focus on the next slide, and this is more about the funds reporting. So on the left side, you see the AFMD warnings over time, and on the right side, you see the MMF warnings over time. So we see for AFMD that the data quality has increased significantly. So once again, when the indicators go down, this is a good development. So here we see basically the changes between the first and second iteration of our data quality enhancement framework. In chart 25, we look into the MMF reporting. Here we see that the overall data quality has improved across the dimensions, except for completeness, where basically we see a spike. So when the chart goes up, it's not a good development. So here we hope to see more trends going downwards going forward. With that, basically, I closed the slide on funds and go on to the next steps. So here are the three pillars on our report, and also the next steps that is also highlighted in our report, obviously. So these are data quality and strategic alignment, tech innovation and efficiency, collaboration, and also being more, let's say, open source about the codes that we write. So in the pillar of data quality and strategic alignment, we are trying to drive data quality. We are partnering even more with NCAs, also head of the discussion of Savings and Investment Union. We continue to incorporate and implement the data strategy 2023 to 2028 with the focus on new technology. As I mentioned before, this is we continue also the trajectory towards Gen AI. We also want to increase our automated controls, automated feedbacks to counterparties to enable faster error remediation. In the pillar of tech innovation and efficiency, as I said before, and this goes a bit into also the data strategy, continue to work with Gen AI to boost operational efficiency, also reducing burden on the industry by simplifying frameworks, reusing data elements, and eliminating duplicate reporting. Also, one of the key goals is to maximize the use of MiFID data, so data that we already have to new use cases and to expand also analytical capacities in this area. In the area of collaboration and open source, we want to basically also put more codes for the industry out on our GitHub repo to make them, give them possibility to understand a bit more what is going on with the data, but also, what checks we do. We will continue to do the shared tooling with authorities to ensure also a consistent regulatory implementation across the EU. And the SubTech network will basically grow and will continue to attract new experts and new projects going forward this year and the next years. With that, basically, I have finished the presentation today. You have the so-called Q&A box at hand in case you want to ask any questions. I'm most happy to address any questions that you might have at this stage. And with that, basically, I check the Q&A box. So there's one question about if simplification is a useful exercise that ultimately supports growth. Do you have any KPIs, metrics, or estimate of the current reporting costs incurred by firms in ESMA? And quantify the total existing cost is the first step to assess the success of the simplification program rather than relying solely on individual cost and benefit analysis. This question is, yes, please.
So thanks. Indeed, this is a question from BNP Paribas. For the benefit of everyone, indeed, as you are aware, most of you who are aware with our policy work, ESMA is about to publish its final report on the call for evidence. Therefore, indeed, those cost estimates for the industry are going to be included there. There were actually several workshops which took place at the end of the month of May, during which we engaged with market participants indeed to gather and to collect more in-depth understanding, to discuss with them some findings of a cost and benefit study on the industry side, and to indeed make sure that when ESMA goes into that direction, which we have outlined in the report of simplification and burden reduction, particularly on the side of the reporting, indeed we do it with this dual objective of preserving information, but increasing efficiency in the use and simplification in the way in which information reaches to us. Obviously, there have been several more specific indicators, let's put them like that, in terms of expected levels of burden reduction. The President of the European Commission mentioned indeed in one of her programs 25%. So obviously this is a figure which we keep very close in our mind. But again, for us, the main objective is indeed to create obviously there a meaningful framework which can support competitiveness of the European markets on the one hand side, but on the other hand, also make sure that the regulatory community, which has, as I hope you have seen through today's presentation, and obviously through the very detailed report to which Martin contributed and coordinated, that indeed the use of data has significantly increased. Authorities are paying very close attention and are really making all the efforts to extract all the value possible of the information that comes our way. So from that perspective, this is definitely yet another area on which we want to build it. Obviously, after the proposals come, you also aware there are going to be several steps in terms of the implementations of those simplification proposals, and as part of those, let's say these two key pillars, preservation of data and simplification of the reporting burden, are going to be kept together and hopefully work in a synchronous way.
Okay, so I think we have no further questions. Yes, then at this stage, we thank you very much for the attendance today. I hope it was a very insightful presentation, and we wish everyone a nice day and a nice rest of the week. Thank you very much for attending.